Which celebrity's death actually made you cry? That actor from Star Trek, Anton Yelchin. Crushed by his own car. Remember the photos of his mom during the press conference where she and her husband announced they were suing Fiat Chrysler for their son's death? I couldn't get through typing this without tearing up. Those images were so devastating. Also, watch the Love and Kushal doc about him if you haven't already. It's free on several streaming services, primarily Prime. The vehicles were all recalled to fix the design flaw. Anton was not the only victim of incompetent engineers. If I remember correctly, the recall notices were in the mail and Anton had not yet received his. So many modern automotive designs are all form no function. Touchscreen stereos that you have to look away from the road to manipulate, push-button shifters that solely exist because cool instead of a tactile stick that you can shift into a proper gear or park and know it's there. So fucking stupid. Bowie had me bummed pretty hard, but Robin Williams was so unexpected and tragic that my wife and I toasted him, and I did shed a couple tears. 2016 just killed me. George Michael, Bowie, Prince, and Carrie Fisher. Each of them too early. Each of them a genius with heart and soul. Don't forget Alan Rickman, and Leonard Cohen. Didn't Dolores die in 2018? And Dolores O'Riordan came here to say this. It was a blow to hear. Sam Lloyd. Can't watch Scrubs without feeling caught up. Was listening to the Blanks cover of Hey Ya the other day and I just froze. Never had a celebrity death have any effect on me in the past. I didn't know he died. Frown. Cancer. Died April 30th last year. It's such a heartbreaking story. To go from having a son and all the joy that brings, to weeks later being told you won't see him grow up. Gene Wilder. I remember exactly where I was when I heard the news. I was sitting down in a sandwich shop and it was broadcast on the store radio. I heard it, but it didn't really register at first, but as soon as I got home it hit me and I had to lie down and cry for a few minutes. Alex Trebek. My immigrant family used to watch Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy religiously. He was always on TV when I was alive. And hearing how he died really broke me. Just on his back porch swing with his wife as he went. It made me really think that one day, it will be your last day. And what you wear the day, everything you do, what coffee or breakfast you had or whatever, is going to be your last, and that's it. And just the way he went out was so beautiful. Edit. Thank you all so much for your comments and the awards. I went to have a beer and this blew up. To clarify, I am still alive. I meant to say, my whole life he's been around, but I apparently need some English lessons, ha ha ha. And to the person who had a problem with me saying my immigrant family, I want to clarify. I come from a family of immigrants who worked hard their entire lives and continue to, and they worked very hard to learn English. And game shows is what they would watch to help them learn. So these shows remind me of being with my family too. I hadn't heard how he died. What a lovely way to go. It's always better to go on your terms than suffer in agony. Makes me feel bad for dementia patients. Forgetting everything is pretty up there for worst way to die. I have a patient with severe dementia and recently her husband was admitted. At first he was doing fine, but we brought her up to see him and she had no idea who he was. She wanted nothing to do with him, and as he was calling out to her explaining their marriage and life together, she just looked at us like he was crazy. So we took her back and within 3 days he passed. Now every once in a while she will ask about him, but she's too far gone and can't process that her husband has died. It's not that she won't accept it, but that her brain is telling her he's alive and then just a moment later she will forget he even existed. Dementia is absolutely worse than death, and you just slowly deteriorate until your body decides it's done. I know it's controversial, but I wish assisted suicide was legal. Jim Henson for sure, maybe not a traditional celebrity, but the Muppets, Fraggle Rock. Man, I'm still sad thinking about his death. I was 14 when he died, lifelong Muppets fan. My dad was reading the paper, how quaint, and told me Jim Henson died. I immediately said no, he didn't. My dad again confirmed that he died and I remember yelling no, he didn't. Then I sat down and cried. First time I ever cried over a celebrity death. Jim Henson defined my childhood and I still mourn his passing. Just reading this comment made my eyes well up a little. Me too. I was 11 when he died, and at the time I had planned on becoming a puppeteer so I could join the Muppets. I remember hearing about his death and trying not to feel all the feels. Later that day my sister brought it up at the dinner table while we were eating, and I thought it would be funny to pretend to cry, like oh, boo-hoo. Nope. I broke down sobbing at the dinner table. That had never happened before. It got very quiet. Robin Williams and Chester Bennington. Linkin Park got me through the darkest parts of my life and kept me alive. Chester's death rocked me, and so did knowing I would never get to see them live. It's a bit like how we say in Narcotics Anonymous, what happens when the person who kept you from relapsing relapses? It was such a cold and empty world after they left us, and I never even met them in person. I saw them live in 2012, but it's weird to say I won't ever again. And I still can't watch Robin Williams movies because it makes me so sad. Same with Anthony Bourdain, or really anyone that died from suicide, knowing when they were filming or whatever how unhappy they were. Heartbreaking. Also Heath Ledger and Big Black. So sad. Edit. Also Alan Rickmans, Prince, Chadwick Boseman, Mac Miller, Paul Walker, Chris Cornell, Steve Irwin, Carrie Fisher, Grant Amara. I'm sure I'll add more. I don't want to be that guy, but Robin Williams actually committed suicide due to intolerance, depression resulting from a neurological disease called Lewy body dementia. His brain was literally self-destructing. It's a horrendous disease and I don't fault him for wanting to finally have some peace. I'm only bringing this up because his wife wanted the world to know about it. Big Black, my heart hurt so much for Rob. I knew they hit some rough stuff, but I know they had some mad love for each other. Who's cutting onions? Steve Irwin. That man was so passionate about wildlife, and it's good to see his wife and in these past few years his children keeping up the fight. I've been thinking about this one a lot since Mindy had her little girl. Steve would have been the most amazing granddad. I remember Terry talking about how Steve would get up early with the kids, and she'd wake up to the sounds of laughter coming from the living room every morning that he wasn't carting them around the zoo. I could imagine Bindi waking up to Steve just hanging in her house, doting on the grandkids, teaching them everything he knew. That family is missing a lot for having lost him. The video of him just all wide-eyed at Bindi as a baby is just how he would have been for her kid. An incredible spirit, and a loss felt throughout the world. Honestly, his kids are lucky that they have so many hours of the father on video. I'm curious if Animal Planet ever gave the family any unused B-roll.